Hello everyone, my name is Sandra. I am Swiss and I am currently studying here international relations in South Korea, and I'm doing an internship at PSCORE.
Hello everyone, I'm also Swiss. My name is Noah, and I'm currently a student studying international studies here in Korea, and I'm also an intern at PSCORE. So Sandra, in front of us we have some questions that were provided by PSCORE. How much do you think is discussed in Switzerland when it comes to human rights?
Okay. Actually, not much. Unfortunately, from my experience in school, we never talked about North Korea and not even about the Korean War. It's very focused on the European history. So the average Swiss person, I think, does not know a lot about North Korea. And I think this is because Switzerland also focuses a lot on staying neutral, and there are a lot of mediation meetings that Switzerland is in charge. So that's what I think. What about you?
I see. For me, in the traditional media, in newspapers and on TV, they generally only talk about Kim Jong-un, and that was very present in media when Trump was president of the United States. But they don't really talk about the human rights violations or the current situation in North Korea at all. They only talk about the leader. And one thing that is interesting though is that there are some people that now actually travel to North Korea from Switzerland. Like, I saw in the news before that they advertised it to Swiss people to go there. And a lot of Swiss people, I think they are curious about the country, but they're not aware of the severity of human rights violations.
Yeah. So the next question is, what are your hopes regarding the future of human rights in North Korea?
I hope that the international community can put pressure on North Korea through the power of social media. So I hope through that the human rights situation will become better.
I think the first thing that comes to my mind is that the starvation needs to end in North Korea for sure. I know it is easier said than done, but next, like in a maybe long term, also freedom of movement is essential. I believe those are two things that just need to be more pushed in for North Korea to make a change. Yeah.
So what are your views on the reunification of the two Koreas?
Yeah, that's a very tough question, very political as well. I do think that it is very difficult to achieve for various reasons. But ultimately, that would be the ideal case, I think. It's difficult right now. There are changes also within the younger generation, but the question is whether this is enough for it to reunify anytime soon. What do you think?
I see it similar to you. I think there will be a lot of obstacles. People often talk about the financial and the political obstacles, but I think the societal obstacles will also become an issue of the North Korean and South Korean co-living in the same country. But just because there are obstacles or problems doesn't mean that it cannot happen.
Yeah. So next question. Is Korean unification talked about in your country?
No, I don't think Korean reunification is talked about at all in Switzerland. As we discussed before, they don't even know much about North Korea in general. And this, like you said, actually Switzerland is very neutral. So I don't even think that Switzerland has a clear stance on reunification.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think this is something that should be changed.
Definitely.
Because even though Switzerland wants to be neutral, if there is not enough pressure from the international community on North Korea, I don't think anything is gonna change.
What do you think will be the greatest challenge and/or advantage of Korean reunification?
There will be a lot of challenges for sure. I mean, we hinted on some of the challenges already. One of which is the economic gap. Having North Korea, a country that hasn't been evolving much within the last few years after the Korean War, and then South Korea, which became the 12th strongest economy in the world now, and having a lot of success also with the culture. The question is, reunification is going to be very expensive, so this is a big challenge. And as for advantage, well, my hopes or what I think is that in the long run, when they reunify, they might be stronger together and be an even greater economy.
I see it similar to you, and I mentioned earlier the societal issues. One thing that comes to my mind is that they do have women's rights in North Korea, but they are not the way that like Switzerland would have those. So, for example, in South Korea, you mentioned South Korea is very advanced, right? So, if we heard from a defector actually that the North Korean men, when they defect to South Korea, they struggle to accept a contemporary woman who works and doesn't just stay at home or cook and clean.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that could be an issue, and I think that is also an issue actually that we see in Switzerland, for example, with refugees that come from different culture. And yeah, that is I think one obstacle, but one advantage would be that it would give human rights to all Korean people. So, how was your reaction of your family or your friends when you told them you were going to move to South Korea?
The reaction was mostly people were like not understanding why I was coming here, but in the case of my mother, she was even like encouraging me to not come here, because during the time that I decided to come here, there was a lot of stuff on the news about North Korea and a nuclear threat, and she was like, maybe you shouldn't go, but I still came. And now she's used to it, I guess.
Right.
What about you?
For me, I think I got mixed reactions. A lot of people couldn't understand why Korea, and other people thought that Korea was just a dangerous place altogether because of the nuclear and missile threats.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think that stance has kind of changed now with K-pop and the corona, how Korea has handled the coronavirus, because it has been in the media. A lot of people have been more exposed to news about Korea that are not related to North Korea.
Yeah. Is there anything you would like to add to this conversation?
Yes, I want to say that it is very important for the people that are watching to use their social media and advocate about North Korea and human rights in North Korea, because together as the international community, we can put pressure to North Korea so that change can happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have similar words to say. I think that not enough has been talked about this problem, especially in Switzerland, and this should be brought to people's attention. I feel like it should be added to the Swiss education as well, and only with knowledge you can actually make a change. So,
what are your views on North Korean human rights and reunification? What do the people of your country think about this issue? Please check the description box on how you can participate.